It is fair to say that Seb Twaddell is the longest hitter in the known universe. Well, that's unless there's an alien life form that also plays golf that we haven't met yet. But until then, Seb broke the world record with a 240.8 mile an hour ball speed, compliments of 169.6 mile per hour club speed. That is roughly 40 miles per hour quicker than the quickest speed in the PGA Tour. Today, we are going to uncover how he does this. But before we get started, if you enjoy this video at any time, please share it, like, and comment if you agree or disagree. And also subscribe, as it is free, and your support helps us donate profits to the channel and our development academies in Southern California to the Heal the Hood Foundation for low-income junior golfers. But enough of that coffee grind. Get ready to witness the inner workings of the great Seb Twaddell. Welcome back, Land Golf Academy members and guests, and Seb Twaddell's on the screen. I presume that's how you say his name. If it's not, please let me know in the comments. I already look like a buffoon. I don't need to look like even more so. But today's swing, we're going to look at a few things that we can learn from of how he gets that golf ball to go so far. We're going to see a lot of rotation, third lever involved, up and down motions like an athlete's, and rotation at impact that you have probably not seen before. But that is why he has the record. So left side of the screen setup, we can see a pretty normal looking setup. It's a little bit wider than normal, so we see our arms are reaching out slightly more than I suggest, but that's because he needs that width of arc. So he's trying to make the separation between his hands and the center of his body as wide as he can within reason. Other than that, he looks very stable, very balanced. We draw that line straight from the arches of his feet up, and we can see that almost goes right through that intersecting point. So he is ready to go. Right side of the screen, we can see a great tilting setup. We can see the chest, the center of the chest goes right through the hands and down to the golf ball, something I highly recommend that most of us do. And the grip is pretty neutral in terms of a long drive here. I've seen much stronger grips. Now, yes, that is stronger than normal, but for long drivers, we're going to call that a fairly neutral grip. So he does something very unique, and I saw a video on why he did that. He said he tried it one afternoon, and for some reason it added more yardage, but I'm assuming it actually helps him load the weight more. And if you're not used to his motions, we can see he takes this almost a full swing pre-shot motion, and that, to me, we see a lot of this in the long drivers. They do try to go right to left to right to left. You see a lot of this motion going back and forth. So on the front side of the view, we can see that right to left, back to right to left, and that just helps them preload that weight more efficiently. Just like you're going to throw a ball, you have to move right to left. So to accentuate that can probably help them jump even harder at this golf ball. So let's go to the left side of the screen. We're going to try and go through that pre-shot stuff. And it's kind of hard to see where the plane rides up because he has that little hitch in his swing. But what we're going to try and do is reconnect it right about here, right when he takes that club back on the way on the second attempt. So we'll do the same thing here. Okay, so the club is at parallel to the ground, and we can see, look how wide his reach is. I mean, those hands are about as far away as you can get from your body. One thing you'll also notice is he's starting to stand up out of his posture. He needs to get as much turn as he can, and the only way to do that is to lose your shoulder tilt. On the left side of the screen, we can see we're losing shoulder tilt, because if you stay in your posture and you turn as much as he does, you are going to break something in your body, most notably your back. So for anybody watching, if you need to increase your turn, it is okay to lose some of that shoulder tilt to level out your shoulders to make it easier to turn. I wouldn't recommend it unless you're working with somebody, so make sure you check on that. And let's keep on going back. We can see how the club is riding up that lower plane line nicely. It still rides up that lower plane line slightly below, but for the amount that he is standing up and his hands are also rising up as well, he has to set his wrist slightly different to keep that club on that lower plane line. But take a look at this turn. As you get to the top of the swing here, you can see that his hips are almost facing us. He's got pretty close to a 90-degree hip turn. His shoulders, once you see that right side of the screen, and that is the world record attempt. So look at his shoulder turn on the right side of the screen. Let's take that back to right at the top of his swing here. Can you notice something? That we can see both shoulders pointing to us. We can see the full of his back. So I am going to take a wild guess and say that he is pretty close to 180 degrees of shoulder turn. If you look at his hips are pretty close to 90 degrees of hip turn. He still carries, I would say, just eyeballing it, around 80 to 90 degrees of X factor. So he's still keeping the immense torque that he is building up, but to the extreme level. What you'll notice is he's come out of his posture completely on the left side of the screen. Let's erase this green line. He has come out of his posture. He is standing more upright, and we can also tell that because his head has come out of that box. Now he needs to do this because his goal is to turn, turn, and turn. Right side of the screen, he is still doing a fantastic job of staying in the spine angle. He's still tilting back, which will help him working with his launch angle. And if we take a look at those knees, look at that left knee. I mean, this is almost like a follow through for a left-hander. You can see that left leg coming on up. He needs to do that to allow his left knee to pop down, and that'll allow him to turn to this extreme turn. On top of that, we are now activating a third lever. If you look at his left elbow, see how it's broken at the top of that position there? On the left side of the screen, we can see that that left elbow is now being activated as a third lever to get that club to go way past parallel. So he is completely loading up to destroy this golf ball. This swing is just built to hit it far. Not very straight, but when it is straight and far and it counts, that's where you start breaking world records. All right, cleaned up some lines. Now let's go on the left side of the screen and let's look at that first move. So the first move that he needs to make is to figure out how to get those hands down in the slot. And he does something very unique. I want you to look how wide his triangle is. I mean, that's about as wide as I've ever seen a triangle. His right elbow is on his lower plane line. His left elbow is on his upper plane line. That's pretty wide. Now think about the lower part of the triangle as your stability and your foundation. So if you have a nice wide foundation of any surface, any triangle, it's a lot easier to maintain the balance. Now if we take a look at the triangle, it is pointing straight down in the ground. And that is because of that third lever that is involved and also the accentuated turn. Now for him to pull that club down, it is going to go straight down. So watch his triangle. It's trying to go to move straight down. And now that's where the turn starts to catch up and it starts to pull his triangle with his turn. And you can see they moved in this sort of motion. However, those two lines do not match his plane lines. So he has to do a couple things. You can see the club is veering its way down to that plane line. He will also start to tilt more to help the right shoulder get down to match that lower plane line. So as we come down in, we can see that right shoulder now dropping down, and now his arms are going to match that lower plane line. So it's this little subtle move. However, the most important thing to pull that move off is to maintain your gap between the starting points, and you can see he's going to work his way back to this long green on the left side. However, he can never get down to that initial spine angle, so he is still standing up because of so much rotation. He has to stay up. If he goes back down with that rotation, he's going to hit the ground 2 feet behind the golf ball or injure his back. So on the right side of the screen, let's take a look at that same motion. We're going to see that left arm go even further back. Look at how far that club is. That club is going beyond where I've ever seen it. But the cool thing is if you take a look at his shoulder turn, it's still nowhere near perpendicular to that turn. So even he, when he's pointing his club at the ground, is not going past parallel in relation to his turn. So keep that in mind, everybody. So from this view, we see that accentuated turn. We're going to see the first move down. Where is it going? It's going up to down. Well, everybody that hits the ball a ton always goes down, and think about why. In order to jump up in the air, you have to go down, and this is driving all his body weight down to that left knee. And what we can see here is look at the angle of his knees. So he had to break that left knee to get that turn on the way back, but now he has to straighten these knees out because the knees, just like that song, are connected to the hips, and the hips are always going to support the spine. So his spine is still fairly upright, so he has to change these two things to help address his spine. One way to do that is to drive to that left side, which he does not because he is turning. So that turning and tilting starts with the knee. So we can see the knee tilt. That right knee starting to drive down, left knee starting to drive back up, which will then affect his hip tilt, which then starts to see that spine tilt change. So this is another way to correct that. So as we drive into the golf ball, look at how straight this right knee has become and how straight this left knee has become. They are now pushing up into this region here. And I know you guys love my lines when I draw a bunch of them. So there you go. There's a bunch more lines for you. Everything's meeting in that middle. So the upper part's going down, so the left side of the screen, and the lower part is going up, and they're meeting right there, which is the center point of the plane and your tilt. So everything meets in that center point. Let's take a look at that full release on the way through. Bam! And what do you see on that left side? We see that left eye having to clear its way because of the immense power and rotation. He has to get out of his own way. And why do we do that? Because he needs to protect his lower back. And this is a picture that we're starting to see many long drive hitters finish in. But the cool thing is he's still in that relative spine angle, although his body has moved back. This is something that you need to try and create. If you want to get distance, you need to stand more upright. You need to start pushing your body back while your arms extend outward. But don't make these changes unless you're working with a certified PJ or LPGA professional, because only they can really help you out. So I hope you enjoyed this quick little analysis on the longest hitter on earth, and that is a fact. So if you like that, hit that like and subscribe. It really helps us grow. Plus it helps us get funds to needy children down in South Africa to introduce golf to them. And if you do have some comments, let me know down in the section below. I appreciate all your support. Have a great day, everybody. Fairways and greens.